god, they're coming out with another Novena palette? What the fuck? Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be about old makeup that is still on my wish list, that I still want to buy, that I still think about and yearn about, but I mean, it's come a long time ago. I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily care as much about them anymore, you know? I feel like there's so much new, like obviously there's just like new shit coming out all of the time, and you just want like, oh, like, you know, the newest releases. That was the worst snapping ever in the world, but you know, these are just the items that I still think about. I don't care how old they are. I still put them in my Sephora cart and I want to buy them, and then I'm like, oh, lol, I'm a grad student. I can't afford to buy all the items in my Sephora cart, and then I close the tab and I'm sad. I know that Andrea Metalano, I'm so sorry if I butchered your name. I know she has done an older palettes I still want video, and then Karen Harris and Amy Loves Makeup also did videos like that, and I'm going to talk about, I mean, obviously eyeshadows, but I also included other, you know, some other items in here that aren't just eyeshadow that I still have been lusting after. But the first item that, this is probably the oldest too, well, at least one of the oldest. It's the Huda Beauty Obsessions palettes, like her smaller, I think they have 9 eyeshadows in them. I don't know what it is, but I constantly almost buy them. They're always, you know, in like near the checkout at Sephora, and they look small, so I'm like, oh, they're inexpensive, and then I'm like, oh, actually they're not, like, they're still like $30, so they're not like that cheap. But there's something about like the color stories of them and the way they look and even how small they are that just like made me want to buy them. Okay, and this next one like fucking, oh, just stabs me in the heart every time I think about it. It's the fucking Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. Now, it's $170 Canadian, so that's just so much money for an eyeshadow palette that I know that I'll never probably end up buying it unless I have one moment of weakness, maybe in the next Sephora sale, but I still doubt it. It's just, I don't know what it is about that palette, but it's the one Natasha Denona, like her more expensive one, that I'm like really lusting after. Normally I'm like $170 for an eyeshadow palette. I just like, I don't care. Like even in my mind, if I picture like the most magically perfect performing eyeshadows, I just feel like I still can't justify it in my mind, like paying that much money. But there's something about the color scheme and just like the vibe of that palette that I just desperately want. And I also really am so curious to see how the Natasha Denona formula performs on the eyes. Obviously I've swatched them, but I've never like actually used them, and I'm just like, I want to be in the club of like having a Natasha Denona palette, but I just like cannot justify it to myself. And then along that same vein, I also have been like lusting after the Sunrise palette, which is she started coming out with the smaller like palettes. It's still like almost $90, so it's really expensive, but if I saved for it, or if there was like a sale, even though there was just a sale, I still didn't buy it. But I think it may be a good way to like try her formula out, and that's, you know, a little bit lower cost. And I also really love the color scheme of that palette. Is it the most like unique, never seen before colors? No, but I still want to try it. That's literally never stopped me before. And the next item that I know that I don't need and that I shouldn't buy, but that I just still want to buy, is the Lunar Beauty Strawberry Dream palette. I have been interested in trying Lunar Beauty for a while, and I know that it's like a warm pinky toned eyeshadow palette with pops of blue, and I know that there's nothing that I need less in my collection. but the packaging and the vibe, and I just like can't help myself because I love pinks, and I just really want to buy it, okay? I just really want to buy it. And I know a lot of people said they were actually disappointed with the colors that Manny chose for that palette, but I think I just really like it, and I'm sure maybe one day in the future I will, you know, impulse buy it in Sephora when Sephora's reopened one day in the next 5 years. But yeah, it's on my mind, even though I tell myself like I can easily talk myself out of it, but I just like can't let go of the dream of having it. And similarly to that, I also really want to try the Lunar Beauty highlighters. The packaging alone is just so beautiful, and normally I'm not like a super like packaging alone will make me buy it, but they also just look really beautiful. The next item that I've been thinking about for what has to be years is the Hourglass Ambient Strobe Lighting Palette. It's the one that they had and they discontinued it. It was limited edition, so they didn't discontinue it. It just stopped being available. And then I think they're bringing it back. Let me check Trend Mood's Instagram actually. I believe that it's only available on the Hourglass website right now. It's not on Sephora, but it's one of those products that it's like every time I see someone on YouTube use that palette, I'm like, oh fuck, like what highlighter are they wearing? It looks so good. And then it's like, it's a fucking Hourglass Ambient Strobe Lighting palette that's been discontinued, or it was limited edition, and I can't get it. And so now that it's available again, I'm like, maybe I should buy that. But it's also, I'm pretty sure, like at least $85. So that's like a lot to pay for like 3 little highlighters. But like the amount that I like want and desire that like highlighting palette in my life is just unbelievable. Also, talking about highlighting palettes, I desperately want the Dior Backstage Glow face palette. It's so beautiful, and Dior, like high expensive, like really expensive luxury brands, like I have honestly no interest at all in like trying anything. Like it's not something that I've like ever have like desired or wanted, but that specific palette I just makes me want to buy something from Dior, which I never even thought would ever happen. But Teresa is Dead talks about that palette all the time and how much she loves it, and it just has made me want it so much more. It looks so beautiful. Okay, the next one, I don't know if this actually like goes against the spirit of the video or not, but I actually already have one. It's the Cover FX Monochromatic Blush Duos. I have the shade Pink Dahlia, but I love this little thing so much. It's so beautiful. The packaging is beautiful. The product is like just so fucking nice, and it's like I want to collect them all, but it's $50. They're $50 a piece, and that's the reason why I haven't bought any more. But every time there's a sale or I go to Sephora, I just like go up to them, I swatch them, I'm like, wow, I wish I had you. I love blush and I love this product. However, all of the Cover FX products on Sephora right now are on sale, like really discounted, and I can't find these anymore. Are they being discontinued? Are they like just going on sale because of like COVID? I don't know. I really hope that they are not discontinued and one day I can fulfill my dream of owning all the colors, but this product has been haunting me for a long time. And I also really want to try the bronzer version of those, but not as badly as I want all of the blush colors. And also talking about bronzers, there's one bronzer that has stuck out in my mind for so long, and it's the Becca Cosmetics Sunlit Bronzer. Jay Kissa talks about it all the time. It looks so beautiful, and just like basically the bronzer, like to end all bronzers, but it's just like so expensive. I think it's also like $50, and bronzers to me are never like the one thing that I'll buy. Like I'll pretty much buy any other makeup product over a bronzer. So I just have never ended up buying it, but it's always like been in the back of my mind again, like I want that bronzer so bad, but I just have never ended up picking it up. And this next one is really, really random. Like I don't even know like where my mind is coming from this, but the amount of times that I've put this into my cart and then been like, what the actual fuck are you doing? It's the Colourpop and Disney collab palettes. It's like the amount of times that I've gone onto the Colourpop website, put all the iterations of like Colourpop and Disney palettes into my cart and been like, oh, okay, I'm gonna buy these, and then I'm like, whoa, 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 no, you're actually not, because that's stupid. I wouldn't be surprised if one day I ended up doing that, but I don't know, because they're like pretty basic palettes. Like they're pretty fucking neutral. They're very simple. Like when I look at them, there's nothing that like I could ever like find to justify buying them, but I just want them so bad. And I'm not even that like much of a Disney person. I'm not like a diehard Disney fan, but there's something about it. I don't know what it is, but for some reason that's like really like on my wish list hardcore, and I don't quite know where that comes from. And then also I think this is actually probably the oldest like thing on this list, but it's the Lime Crime Venus palettes. I feel like when I first started getting into makeup like a long ass time ago, Venus palettes were like the palette for me, and like those look beautiful. Those are like top. Those used to be like top of my list. I want those over any other makeup product. But number one, Lime Crime was really like, it wasn't sold physically in any stores other than maybe Urban Outfitters. And then Lime Crime went through their like low point where, you know, everyone was boycotting them, and I was like, don't really know if I want to support Lime Crime. And then now they're okay to buy from again. But they're also expensive. Like I don't know why. I imagine Lime Crime to be like affordable makeup, but it's not in any way. They're quite like pricey palettes for what they are, and I almost impulse bought them like a couple of weeks ago, and then I was like, what are you doing? But I still think about like maybe I should buy the Lime Crime Venus palettes, which are like so old but have remained in my wish list for like what, 6 years at least, or however long the first Venus palette came out. But yeah, I've been lusting after this palettes for so long. And last but not least, I actually forgot to include this, and then I was going on the Trend Mood Instagram to find like the Hourglass, like when it was launching or whatever. Okay, first of all, I saw that ABH is launching a volume 4 of their Norvina palette, which is literally why. Like, I feel like the overwhelming response to the Norvina palettes was like, okay, whoa, like ABH, please stop launching so much all at the same time. And then they just continue to launch them. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. It's not a will I buy it, but it reminded me, I also have wanted the ABH Novena volumes 1 through 3, but I just love the first volume because I love pink and purples, and I also am not like a huge fan of like super big palettes, but there's something about that palette that I really want to buy, and I almost bought it in the most recent Sephora sale, and I didn't. I'll show you probably in my next video what I ended up buying. But that has been on my wish list for a really long time as well. Well, really long is like maybe a bit of a exaggeration, but since it came out, it's been on my mind. Honestly, all of the ABH Norvina palettes, I don't know what it is, but I just really am intrigued by them. A lot of people don't like their color stories, but I feel like really inspired when I look at them. I don't know. And that pretty much concludes this video. You'll notice that I pretty much only included like makeup items that you can find at Sephora essentially, or like more mainstream brands, with the exclusion of Colourpop, which is obviously technically considered an indie brand, but because for how many products that I talked about today, I mean, these are still kind of the highlights. For indie brands, there's like this many times, like 10 at least. So I think I'm going to film like an indie brand / indie makeup products that I want to try that are kind of like at the more top of my wish list in the future. So that's kind of why I didn't include like indie makeup in this lineup. But, you know, I thought it could just be good with all the new stuff that's like we're constantly being bombarded by. The average person, average consumer isn't like going out and buying, I don't think, like every new launch. And I think it can just be like really overwhelming for everyone involved, whether you're like involved in like the beauty community on the internet or not. I think it, you know, can be good to like take a step back, think about, oh yeah, like what are those products that I wanted to buy 2 years ago, a year ago, and then I, you know, kind of forgot about. Anyway, enough of my constant rambling. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!